Well, the JSE is steady in midday trade despite global pressures weighing in. Oil supply jitters continue to affect its price, while locally, rolling blackouts are continuing to disrupt economic activity. Stage 4 load shedding, by the way, currently underway. Let's talk about this with Petri Redelinghuys, trader and founder of Herenya Capital Advisors, to give us an afternoon update. Let's begin here, Petri. The all-share index seems to be flat in midday trade. Why is that?
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me. So, yeah, our all-share index is actually not doing too bad. They were up actually now closer to 0.75%, and much of this is on the back of significantly higher gold shares, right? The gold price has really sort of run pretty hard last night. Gold shares did well in the US yesterday as well. Of course, our market was closed due to Easter Monday. So we're playing a little bit of catch-up in this commodity precious metal space, which is doing really well. I mean, the likes of Goldfields is up something like 8%, Anglo Gold up 5 3/4. Also, diversified miners doing relatively well, putting in some strong bids, as well as the platinum guys. Anglo American Platinum, for example, up around 2.3%. So much of the strength we're seeing today is coming from the commodity space. On the downside of the market, of course, is Naspers and Prosus. Those are the two ones that are already sort of been under quite a bit of pressure of late. We did see them trading quite weak in the Asian session, well, Tencent at least in China early this morning. But for the most part, I mean, the market is relatively broad-based positives, which is a little surprising given the volatility that we saw in the US markets last night.
I mentioned load shedding, stage 4 currently. Do we expect the rand to respond negatively?
Well, I don't know, to tell you the truth. I mean, at the moment, the rand is about 1.5% weaker across the board against all major pairs. So 14.85 to the dollar, 16.02 to the euro, 19.34 to the pound. So that's 1.5% weaker on the day across the board, really. So I suppose, you know, there's multiple drivers of what's happening here. One, there is, of course, the geopolitical risk that is outside of South Africa. So the Russia-Ukraine situation is ever pressing and growing a bit more urgent. There's also, you know, the likelihood of sharper than expected interest rate hikes coming from the US as this sort of fiscal tightening cycle, monetary tightening cycle begins. So those are two sort of headline risks that I think have been driving markets for some time. In the face of that, the rand has actually performed very, very well, very strongly. And then today, quite a sharp turnaround at 1.5% weaker. So I don't know how much of that can be attributed to load shedding. Although I think we all know very well what the effects of load shedding is on the economic activity of the country. It does make it very challenging for small businesses and big businesses likewise to operate.
I was going to ask you about commodities, but something else that's interesting today is back on the announcement by President Cyril Ramaphosa last night that the Solidarity Fund, initially set up to deal with issues related to COVID-19, will now be brought in to disburse about 1 million rand. That's in KZN flood relief. Do we read it as an example of private sector efficiency that can then be modeled across other parts of the economy?
It depends on where you read the article first, right? One of the comments I saw was that private sort of sector fund disbursement is being used because the people donating the funds aren't trusting enough of government for them to disperse the funds without putting their hands in the cookie jar. So I don't know how to answer that question. I suppose it's good because at least we know that the funds will reach where they are. I think what's happening in KZN is obviously a disaster, right? And we do need to do as much as we can to support them. So Solidarity Fund is one way of doing that, as is Gift of the Givers, right? They do some fantastic work as well.
I'm told I actually said 1 million. It's 1 billion rand. Petri Redelinghuys, until next time, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Have a great day.